Hi folks, I've been asked by a few people about how I go about processing small samples of ore or ore that I might bring back after a prospecting trip to sort of extend the time when I'm not able to get out into the goldfields. Quite often when I go out I'll pick up bits, label them in buckets as to where they're from and bring those rocks back, or maybe an area of rock that's surrounding a small parcel of reef that's been found, and I'll bring those back home again. So during the off months, I can keep playing. Now, one of the main things that people are interested in, and the thing that's really made this a pleasure, if you like, is using this little device, which is called Ryan's Crusher, or the Compact Crusher. It's got Fair Income Prospecting Equipment written on the side, Australian made and owned, which I think is a terrific thing. Now, I've got one of these from the manufacturer, based on information that was given, and it's been absolutely fantastic. The machine itself, it's got a good quality grinder attachment, so an AEG grinder. It goes through quite a heavy bearing, and through the bearing support, which has a grease nipple on it, into the crushing mechanism, which is inside this area here. It's got a chute at the front where you put your rock material to be crushed, little scoop that doubles up as both a scoop and as a cover, if you like. Stop material coming out again. Sorry about the noise, a bit windy here. So inside it, you've basically got a set of rotating links attached to a shaft. So inside this one there's two of these, or a double of these, at right angles to each other, which I'll show you in a minute. And these links spin around, high tensile bolts spin around and crush the ore against the actual crusher body. Mine came with a single link as an alternative attachment, and a double link inside. I haven't used the single link yet because I find the double is working perfectly for me, so there's no need to change it at this stage. So let's have a quick look inside. You can easily access the inside to show you this. Make sure that we're not plugged into power while we take this off. It's really nasty on the fingers if it decided to fire up. This device is not used for extended periods or crushing large volumes of rock. It's for sampling and for treating small parcels of rock at a time. So behind this, you've got your crushing mechanism. So you can see in here, you've got two sets of chain links on bars that are at 90 degrees. And they spin around with the grinder and flail or crush the rock inside, crushing it down to a fine sand or powder. Works really effectively. When you finish your crushing, which only takes seconds, it looks like you've ended up with a whole stack of flour, which you have, but that's only the lighter clay material. Underneath that clay material, or within that clay material, is a coarser sand, a bit like beach sand, which I'll show you in a minute, which is a really good size for further processing. Whether you can pan it out or run it through a little sluice, anything like that, so it doesn't get too fine, because you don't want to over crush your ore. You'll end up with just a whole stack of flour that you very difficult to remove any gold from. I haven't had any problems whatsoever with this machine as far as maintenance goes. They do recommend that when you take the cover off, you nip up the bolts, make sure they're tight. Every time I've taken the cover off to do that, there's been no movement in any of the bolts whatsoever. So it's stayed tight and it's stayed together. It's really solid and really well made, which I've got a good feel to it, which I like. And so far has been maintenance free. Only the chains and things you can purchase plenty of spare parts for them according to the manufacturer. So that's basically the unit itself. What you'll end up with after your first crush, you'll end up with what looks like a very fine powder like that. There's a lot of clay in that. But if you wash that clay off, you'll see that it's actually a relatively coarse sand, not coarse, but like, a bit like beach sand, which is ideal size for freeing up any, small bits of gold or whatever that are in your material. So the process that I go through to work this machine, fairly straightforward. There's nothing new at all about what I do. First of all, when I bring back the rocks, they can be various sizes, from large pieces like this through to smaller pieces. Now these rocks are all from a mine from the turn of last century that was very rich in gold, and got a fair bit of gold out of there subsequently. And it's at the intersection of two shear zones. So I've brought back some of the host material, even though it looks quite pinky, glassy, hungry-looking quartz. That's actually the type of material that the gold veins have been found in. So I've brought some back home again, and I'm going to run those through the crusher and pan it off, run it through a little sluice, and then pan it off, and see if there's anything to look at while we're there. So that's the process. So first of all, we've got our rocks. I break the big rocks down just by hitting them with a sledgehammer. The rocks wrapped up in a cloth, hit them with a sledgehammer on an old battery stamp that I've got, into sizes that will fit into a normal dolly pot. And once we've done that procedure, I run it through a screen or a classifier. Now I've made a classifier out of a 20 litre bucket and a bit of pigeon wire or bird mesh, about 10 mil. So I find that's an ideal size, 10 mil or less, to feed easily without overloading the machine too much. You can put much larger sizes, up to the size of the hopper, into this, but I can't really see the point of overstressing a little sampling machine with large, hard rocks. So I screen it down, only takes a couple of minutes, do a bit of dollying up, screen it down, and I end up with a section of rocks where the rocks are around about this size. Right? And I find that ideal for putting through the machine itself. It is a crushing machine, so when you do fire it up, it makes a lot of noise and it rattles and it vibrates and does all those sorts of things, but when you think of what it's doing, it's crushing very, very hard rock down into powder almost. Then it's got a bit of work to do. So far, and I've put through a lot of rock through this little machine, so far it's been perfect. You will find that the motor after a while gets very hot, quite hot. When that happens, I just stop at that point, do a bit of panning or whatever else needs to be done, and let it cool down before I put a few more through. You wouldn't want to sit there and run this thing continuously for hours on end. It's not what it's designed for. It probably won't last you well if you do that. Apart from that, nothing else wrong. So what I think we should do is we'll dolly up a few of those rocks, put them through the screen. I'll just show you what the process that I use is. Then I'll pop them through the screen and then feed them into the crusher, and we'll see what comes out the other end. Later on, if anyone's interested, I might make a little video of the clean-up process where I run it through a little sluice, a little recirculating home sluice, and then pan off the material so I can get all the little bits of gold out of it. That might surprise me. So that's the main part of the unit. Just to say that the grinder itself's got a 3-year warranty or a 6-year warranty if you register it after you buy it. So, good quality material. I'm more than happy with it. So let's put it through its paces and see how it goes. Right, we've dollied up our material. What we're going to do now is put that material into the crusher I do about 3 scoops of material per run, and I do it 1 scoop at a time. I'll show you that. That saves it, doesn't overload the machine, makes it a nice, quick, easy process. Then when that material is crushed, I run it through a simple kitchen sieve, which gets it down to the size that I need, and any bits that are slightly oversized, back in the bucket, and they'll get crushed again. So let's have a look and see how that goes. I'll put a mask on, because when you're crushing quartz, you've got to be careful of silica dust. Because this machine makes a lot of noise and rattles and rolls, I've just got a bit of old packing, a bit of old foam packing, and I just sit it in that. Keeps it a bit more stable, softens it a bit, and cuts the noise down a tiny bit. So let's have a look and see what we were going to do in the first place. Scoop. In we go. Quick blast is all that's needed. Second scoop. So, 3 scoops is about all I do at once. You wouldn't want to do this in the kitchen, it's a bit dusty. And then I just tip that out into a container. And that's it. So what you'll end up with is just a fine powder, which I can then shake through the sieve. All that rock's been reduced. These things are just slightly oversized, so I'll pop those back in the bucket and they'll get done a second time. Let's do a couple of those. So that's all it takes. No real need to run it for any longer than that. Again, we've ended up with our fine material. Let's sieve through. A few bits that are oversized. Go back in the bucket. If you're lucky, you might even see a lump or two of gold in there. It doesn't tend to destroy the gold, doesn't break it down as much as the rock. If you do have any free gold, it may ball it up a little bit, so you get little balls of gold rather than jaggedy bits. But it doesn't seem to damage it a huge amount. Anyway, that's how I use the crusher to get my material down to a point where it's ready for cleaning up, getting rid of some of the clay, running it through a little sluice, which I do for fun, and then running the rest through the pan and just panning off what's remaining. So far it's been quite successful. You never know what you're going to get. Most rock will have a few little tiny bits of gold in it. Other rock can be quite rich depending on where you've got that from and what's adjacent to it. So in short, you can see the difference between the little bit of dolling I did and the time it takes and the difficulty of getting it all down to the right size, and how quickly it is to run it through the crusher. The crusher is inexpensive for what it does. It's small, compact. You could take it out on site if you needed to. And it seems to be really well made. I'm over the moon with it. It's been a terrific help for what I do, and makes the whole thing good fun rather than hard work. So that's it. That's Ryan's crusher, or the compact crusher. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that helped you work out whether or not this sort of thing might be suitable for what you do. Thanks a lot.